Zelete, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. For decades, Western powers use their propaganda media to spread information about Africa. But thanks to social media, we have all run away from these TV stations and radio stations that always feed the African the things that are not true about the continent. And they have also decided to move alongside with us. So if the TV stations aren't working anymore, they have to find what is keeping the African or what the African loves today so they can also counter or continue to push the narrative they want to push across. For that matter, there is a new information warfare waging on the Sahelian nations. There's this black American who was just posting lifestyle things about himself. All of a sudden decided to create content and he didn't get any other place but the Sahel. And his is to carry the information of the West and push across, making it look like these countries have collapsed. That is the narrative or the message he is sending across. When you look at how they use the African in doing certain things against the African, it's so amazing how Africans allow themselves, or black people allow themselves to be used against their own kind. But one thing we need to let other people understand is Sahel hasn't lost, because even the French media, RFI, confirm that now the Malian authorities, the Sahelian and AES unified force are in control. I don't know whether he is not aware of what is happening in the Sahel, or he is, but just decided to sell this narrative across to the world.
So Burkina Faso is actually in a really bad spot. I didn't realize how bad it was until I started researching for my article. It's going to be on Patreon in a few days. Check it out. There's also going to be a video. But depending on if you believe the US or other African sources, the government only controls like at max 70% of the country. And that's what the US says. According to other African sources, they control like 40% of the country. Not only that, the JNIM and ISGS, the two terrorist groups within the country, are actually putting belt to ass on the forces that are currently being trained by Russia. But on top of that, Russian forces aren't training the military very well and are doing so in exchange for a lot of gold.
Si l'ennemi est là-haut, je vais me cacher derrière.
10 semaines de cours théoriques.
Je vais pas me mettre devant, parce que sinon l'ennemi va pouvoir me tirer dessus.
Et d'exercices pratiques. Aujourd'hui, camouflage.
Oh, allez-y, allez-y. 2, 3.
Il y avait des techniques que je n'ai pas compris autrefois, mais maintenant, j'ai bel et bien compris ça.
Donc, comme je te disais, là, tu es bien caché. Ils sont très motivés. Ils sont souriants, ils nous écoutent. Ils sont motivés.
3 bataillons de 700 hommes ont déjà été formés. Le 4e vient d'arriver.
Nothing comes out from his mouth apart from propaganda. This is the same man that says that Mali was better under France than the way it is right now under Assimi Goïta. The second video you guys just watched was from Mali years ago, when France was training Malian soldiers, while terrorists were controlling the city of Kidal and other parts of Mali, where the French soldiers cannot go. But right now, all of his news and the Western media are saying that Mali is currently worse than when they were under France. While under France, the whole cities and regions were under the terrorists. This guy continued to push propaganda. For some reason, he also says that, he has a friend in the French intelligence that was telling him that Mali is way worse right now under Assimi Goïta, this and that. He said that that friend works for the French intelligence, just like the CIA is or something like that. The same guy is right now telling us that Burkina Faso only controls 70% or 40%. Most of those African medias that will tell you that, know that those medias are not independent. They are working for the Western medias. We have all seen that majority of the African medias today, they are not independent. Let me tell you that. They are completely not independent, whether it is in Nigeria, in South Africa, and other places. They are all being controlled by the Western medias. So this guy keeps on pumping propaganda to the people. The Sahel leaders, he only talks negative about the Sahel leaders. But let us talk about Mali, for example. In Mali, before Assimi Goïta came to power, as you can see here, different cities in Mali have been controlled by the terrorists. But today, Malian government controls all of those things. Laws were changed whereby the gold in Mali belongs to the Malian state. They were able to use that one to do some developments like roads, to build roads, hospitals, financial sectors in Mali and other type of development. But the people who were sponsoring terrorists before, they are the same people who are sponsoring them right now. The only difference is that they are pushing negative image of Mali and the leaders because Mali kicked them out, which means that they are not getting free gold anymore. That is why everywhere you go, propaganda and propaganda. The same thing goes to Burkina Faso. Captain Ibrahim Traore, the one says that the president of Burkina Faso cannot travel by land. He went from the capital city to the second capital city in Burkina Faso, all by land. They clear the terrorists there. Niger also the same thing. You see, this propaganda will not work, my brother. For some reason, I don't know if you are working for these, propaganda machines or you are just doing it unknowingly. But the situation in Mali is way better than when France was there. The situation in Burkina Faso and Niger today is way better. People are happy. People are living in a healthier lifestyle than before. This is just the reality. They will continue to push propaganda like this one. And this boy is falling for it for some reason. So never listen to a man who will only push propaganda for their own benefit. Never listen to this guy.
Where does JNIM get their weapons from? I wrote an article about this, and I have another one coming out next week, or I guess this week. Check it out. It's going to be in my bio. JNIM ambushes military and police outposts, and then they will take the guns. It's that simple. And the thing is, with their ambushes, because there's a lot of volunteer defense forces that are not exactly the most trained, nor do they have the recommended amount of intelligence personnel per unit to know when attacks are coming, they're giving them free guns. An attack in Burkina Faso, March, I think, 23rd of this year, gave JNIM 50 guns, 1 armored vehicle, a bunch of ammo and rockets. Now, imagine they're doing this routinely engaging and just killing people and taking the weapons.
I'm tired of this guy and his propaganda on the internet right here. These terrorists, they will cross the borders from other African countries to go and attack the Sahel countries. Once the military engage, lucky ones will escape, but majority of them, they are gone because they are being brainwashed by the people in those other countries. Go, we are going to support you, we are going to do these things for you. Once they go, majority of them will be neutralized. Now, in this video right here, you can see that this video was taken by the Burkina Faso army, the army of Burkina Faso. When the terrorists entered to go and terrorize the people, the army came. So many of them were being unalived. Now, these lucky ones right here, they escaped into Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. That is where they are getting their weapons from. Because the president of Ivory Coast is the darling of the Western imperialism on the African continent, by the way, working with them to terrorize our own people. If you look at the Sahel map as a whole, some will also cross from Nigeria here into Niger. Some will also cross from Algeria, by the way, into Mali, especially in the city of Kidal, this area, and the city of Gao, by the way. You see here, they are in border with Algeria, but also the Mauritanian border as well. They will also go, once the farmer or the armies engage with them, those who do not lose their lives, they are only wounded, they will get treatment from Mauritania and Algeria right here. Last time also there was an attack between the Guinean border here and the Malian border, but farmer responded quickly. They neutralized most of them. So which means that they are getting their weapons from other African countries, because these African countries right here, they refuse to control their borders. They are just letting these terrorists to enter in the Sahel countries to go and terrorize the people because they want these governments to fail. This black guy, for some reason, he is just posting so many propaganda videos that he is doing a research about the Sahel countries, about Burkina Faso, this and that. This guy is working for someone. I don't know exactly who. Each and every of his videos is about negative, about the Sahel countries, Sahel leaders, the military in the Sahel regions. But if you have countries like these, who are all enemies of these countries, because of we have weak leadership in Nigeria, if even the people in Nigeria here are dying in their large numbers, but the leadership there is weak, Cote d'Ivoire here, but also Benin here, also Mauritania here, also Algeria here. Those are Arab countries. We know they want to divide Mali into pieces. That is why those Asvat who are operating here sometimes, they want to be independent from Mali. They are only 1% of the population. Why do they want to be independent? To whom's interest? So this guy is, he is just pushing propaganda whole day on the internet. Stop, my guy, stop, stop betraying your own people. You are black.
We have to understand one thing as Africans. Whatever that is happening on the soil, and we try to push the narrative of the West, it is not only affecting the people in Africa, it affects every black person. Majority of us have the mentality because we are not on the soil of Africa, we are not Africans. And that is why we have LDA, people trying to create narrative to suit themselves and to wash themselves away from the continent. Like he's talking about his friends giving him information concerning Africa. Do you expect the French people to tell you something positive about Africa? And if you are truly looking for what is actually happening in the Sahel, the best place is not where you are going. There are a lot of places that are talking positive about what is happening in the Sahel. And we all know that the Sahel leaders are in control of what is happening. Ever since they decided to kick out the French troops out of their soil, there has been significant improvement. The villages that were captured by the TT are now under the control of the Malian people, the Burkinabés, and the Nigerians. This is not a place that you see TT people having power. We also saw the point where the TT came out and claimed that Malian authorities are using things that are not accepted, and they are asking the international community to come in because they are there to protect the civilians. And now the authorities are using things against the civilians because they didn't want to accept that it was against them. We also saw them neutralizing their commanders. Even the top man who is in charge of it has been neutralized. And we have people, our own kind, coming to preach the narrative. After they used Michael Langley and it didn't work, they have to find another person again to come and talk to the African. But one thing they need to understand, the African is wide awoken. This is not like the time of Muammar Gaddafi, whereby the African didn't know anything. We didn't have any other place to source information, and all that we do was to believe the narrative that they have, or the narrative they give to us. We have risen, and there's nothing that is bringing the African backwards. And our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, you should understand that we are one people, even though you see yourselves not to be us. But when it comes to issues in the continent, and you think that you are a genuine person who really wants to know what is happening in the continent, the best place to source your information from isn't the person who oppressed you. Majority of us think that we are okay because of where we are. But Africa is for us. And we are the only ones that can tell you the true narrative. We are talking about TV stations in Africa also confirming to whatever that they say. But these are not people that have the final say. Are they living in the Sahel? They don't know what is happening there. Do they know what is actually happening in the Sahel? And you think that because African 1 or 2 TV stations that refuse to wake up and continue to speak the colonizers' language is a confirmation that the Sahelian leaders have failed. They haven't failed, they have won. And to the point that even the people who are sending their people, look at the coordinated attack that happened on 25th of April in Mali. Who thought that the Malians will be able to withstand this? Look at what happened in Niger airport twice. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. But any of these traps and plots that they have always plotted, these our leaders always neutralizes that. So why should you sit down and all that you think about is to push the narrative of Africa that is not true to the world? Why will you be vocal on issues that has to do with the Sahelian states and not think about what is bothering you people in America? There are people who are also suffering. Why not fight for your own people? Why not use your voice to talk about that? There are a lot of issues or things that are happening in Africa. Why must you choose the Sahel? Why should that one be of interest to you? And you didn't even come out to do a research on what is happening. You only go by what the oppressor has said. But we are trying to let you understand that the Sahelian leaders are on top of the game. When France was in the Sahel, Niger was living in darkness. The same people you are praising that they have done well, they were living in darkness while France was taking the uranium for free. And these same people, when they were there, they determined the kind of equipment that our fighters use to protect themselves. Now, the Malian army, the Burkina army, the Nigerian army determine the kind of weapon they use. The TT were more powerful. Why are you not talking about Boko Haram in Nigeria? Why are you not talking about what is happening in Sudan? Why are you not talking about what is happening in Congo? And it is what is happening in the Sahel. Per what the French have said is what you go by. But we don't expect you to talk about us. We have the voices to let the world understand that the African will no longer sit down for people to tell our stories to glorify themselves. The Sahelian leaders, if you don't know, are winning and they have won. And have you ever asked yourself why are they interested in Sahel? Why not Congo? If truly they are looking for people to save, why not Congo? Why not Sudan? And you yourself? And it must be Sahel. It's painful to see the black man, even in this 21st century, allowing him or herself to be used against his own kind without knowing that whatever that is happening also affects him or her. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world and in the United States of America.